main part. Now, in everyday life, way of life, both sort of way of life is practice. We call that 6 parameters. 6 parameters actually is completing your path. So this means like we talk about just briefly, 6 parameters. The first, generosity. Generosity means like again, it's important. Someone giving some material object to someone, we say it's a generosity, gift, but just material object giving someone, Buddhist no guarantees generosity. So definition of generosity, because all the 6 parameters must based on the mind. So that means like from your heart or from your mind, you see someone needs something, and then from your mind and heart you make a decision, I want to give something. Give is coming from your heart, it's called the generosity, not from the action. That means like what this is really is I think important point. The reason is like lots of time our ordinary world we give lots of things. But if you really examine the motivation, most of motivation not necessarily the right motivation. It's kind of not, when the mind is not right motivation, then you're not really giving. Because I'm giving, sometimes we have this intention, I want to be acknowledged. I give sometimes I want to be arrogant. I give sometimes that people can respect me. If everything is my own sake, then it's not genuine giving. Giving is like you see someone who needs, then I want to help him or her, that's what I'm giving. So that's what we call the real giving. So in this way, we call the definition of generosity is making decision from your heart and mind to give something, that's generosity. Then perfection of generosity means like we call giving with the great compassion, giving with the wisdom. Special wisdom is important. Means like you don't have a concept I'm as a giver, you as a recipient, object that I'm giving. So you don't have any concept, me, you, and object. Without concept, what you're giving is the perfection generosity. So this is just a definition of generosity. And then we need to know what obstacle not allows us to practice generosity. Obstacle that stop us to practice generosity is stinginess. Stinginess, miserliness. When you really don't want to share your time, your material wealth, or any your knowledge, then that very attachment, what we call the very kind of attached that object, it stops to giving. So stinginess is an obstacle, to generosity. The main obstacle for generosity is stinginess mind. And the cause of stinginess is attachment. Because when you attach something so much, you even don't want to use yourself. Forget about giving others. So this attachment is a cause of stinginess. So when we have this kind of attachment and stinginess, then there's a lot of disadvantage, short-term disadvantage, long-term disadvantage. If you talk about briefly, like I said, in this life, disadvantage is like I devastated in who understands. Whatever you have in your life, if you use it it brings some kind of pleasure, if you use it, whatever you got. And then sometimes, if you give these things to someone with the right intention, also brings lots of happiness. But then, if you don't use what you got, then it doesn't bring any pleasure to you. Rather, always worry about it. Then one day you die, you waste it. Sometimes I'm saying like, maybe I'm not sure last time I mentioned or not. It's not disrespect. Say homeless person, they carry with the trolley, so many in the trolley full of. So you and me think of why this person kind of carry or dragging this trolley. Really, that's not really valuable. Smelly things, rotten things. We see why this person, but that person not seeing rotten garbage, sees a treasure. So same like enlightened beings see us like that. If you look at the enlightened beings look in our house, why we keep all these things even though it's not neat? But we don't see that. We think they are so important. It's a different perspective. We only kind of know why homeless keeping this one, but we don't know what their state of mind. So we always look at our perspective, but we don't see their state of mind. If they see what we see, I'm sure they're not going to carry around this unnecessary burden. But unfortunately, they don't see it. So same like what enlightened beings see, we don't see it. That's the reason we carry out all these things. So in this way, lots of kind of unnecessary burden. That's one disadvantage. Then also saying like, they say like a stubborn person, what they say like have enjoy suffering to making wealth, but don't have an opportunity to enjoy these things. So we also see in this world, people working hard and hard and hard, never enjoy their life. So what for? You're always working hard, but if you don't enjoy your life, it's very silly, That's one problem. And then, similarly, there's talk about lots of other things like, if you attach and making wealth, no use for yourself, no give to another one, then all the material that we're collecting is like a honey. What called that? Honeycomb, yeah, honeycomb. So when there's enough honey, then someone will take away from you. So our material wealth is like that. We collecting, one day there, then someone else take away from you. We talk about bees, but we are part of bee, collecting this honey right now. And one day we end up, somebody can take away from us. So this is a disadvantage of this life. Then, when people take things from you, they're not going to take your karma, or the karma that you committed. The karma you have to go with you. You cannot separate from it. So this is this life is a problem. Then next life, there's more problem because the attachment, you kind of always, carry the same habit, then it distracts from the Dharma. So many things. So I'm not going to talk 2 minutes because there's so many things to talk. So now the attachment creates stinginess. So stinginess is result. To overcome this stinginess, then we need to practice generosity. Antidote for that is generosity. So generosity is like we always talk about such as giving fearlessness. So fearlessness means like at our world, I'm so kind of stressed out. I don't have time, even somebody trouble out there. This is a very kind of selfish point. Even you are stressful, but if you're more stressful than other, you're right to be, not help because that person is in a better position. But someone who has more trouble than you, there is no right to say, I'm stressed out. Your stress is much less than someone who is stressed out. So at that time, to get the greatest medicine to remove your stress is with the right heart and helping that person. The moment you help someone with the right intention, that very moment your stress is gone. Sometimes people say when you are depression, because you're only thinking about negative about yourself. You're only self-focused. So more you self-focus, your depression gets stronger and heavier. But sometimes you see someone's really suffering more than me, instantly you focus that one. The moment you focus someone else, you forget yourself. That moment depression don't exist. So sometimes the depression can be second, within a short time can be changed. Just a different focus. So in this reason, Buddhist science talk about when you see someone suffering, don't feel sorry, so negative. Rather, what I can help, that's important. We never think about that way. We say, I don't want to look that one. I don't want to watch that one. So negative. Because it's a suffering, then it makes you more unhappy. Rather you say, what I can help, what I can wish them. So this way, if you can do this wishing them to free from suffering, I can do something to help. Every negative circumstances is actually help you to warm you up. There's nothing negative. That's what the enlightened being looking forward the negative circumstances. Because the more they see, the more. Because the point of it, just think about what purpose for police, for instance. Whenever the trouble, then they have to use it. When the trouble, if you don't use the police, it's pointless. So enlightened being is like a police, When more the trouble, you need to be there to help. So in this way, I'm saying really, if you have a wanting to help, then every negative that you see, heard, is a good opportunity to develop your bodhicitta, your loving kindness, your compassion. So this we call the fearlessness. Then another is we say giving loving kindness. Giving loving kindness means either you giving the instruction how to love to others, or you be around that person, feel make them or him or her be comfortable. Be be mothering, or father or whatever, make that person feel comfortable. This giving loving kindness. And then giving, most important was we said giving dharma. So dharma means giving the wisdom. Wisdom means every single problem that I face now is caused by my ignorance mind. So if you don't remove this ignorance, this problem is not going to go away. So in order to remove the suffering, you need to know. So for instance, when someone, always some reason upset something, and then you need to teach that person, that very upsetting whatever reason makes you more unhappy. It's not going to help you. So really important to help yourself is need to be kind, be positive. So this way, person realize, my unkind other to myself and others make me negative mind. So then I know why I'm so negative. So this awareness, to change it, I need to be more kind. So now you know the technique how to overcome it. That's the wisdom, For instance, you may say another example is you want to be an artist. Just having a brush and a few colors and paper, you're not going to be an artist. You're not going to make a nice art. Because you lack of experience, lack of knowledge. Then one artist, art master or coach or teacher have to show you technique in a short time how to make a beautiful art. So if not changing the colors, you use same color, you don't need to change the brush, you don't need to change the color, the pepper, just only you need the technique. So similarly, we don't need to change our mind, we don't need to change our thoughts, just using how to in the proper way. That's the wisdom. Or we naturally equipped this artistic kind of what we call all the requires things, but we do not knowing how to use it. So that's why we make a very awful art. So this way we just make a nice art, just using it in the right way. That's a good artist. So this is what we call the wisdom. So that's the generosity, just briefly. Then there's lots of short-term benefit and ultimate benefit. There's so many things. I'm not going to talk about that. Now next one, ethical discipline. Ethical discipline is like su trim, because in the Tibet we call it su trim. Su trim is the two words. Su means like live with according, means like live honestly. Live honestly. Trim is like committed. I'm going to live honestly. So living honestly but with no committing is one thing. Live with honest with the commitment is another thing. It's much more powerful, much more effective. So ethical means like committing, living honestly. So end of the day, who's going to benefit if you live honestly? Yourself, no one else. Right now we're not living honestly. That causes so much troubles. So much trouble. Every problem that we face is caused by dishonest. Either we're consciously dishonest or unconsciously we're not aware of dishonest. So dishonest is not the cause of happiness. Dishonest is a disturbance. So this way we need to be honest, so important. But this honest is not going to come to us, we have to train. Training only to be honest, Sometimes that kind of environment, I think, is very important. If you have the right environment, also can tremendously help you to change your kind of behavior. For instance, from my own life experience, I grew up in India and Nepal. The moment you travel in the town, no matter how much you promise, I'm not going to do in argument with the taxi drivers, bus drivers, but somehow you're always going to fail. They somehow really kind of try their best to get as much as they can from you. Then you know that you don't want to give them arguments. Nature comes. But the living in this country is so honest, law and order. There's no need to argue anything. Sometimes the environment in the right condition, then it's easier to practice. So this way, I think, if you live in an ethical environment, then much easier to be ethical. If you live in an unethical environment, it's very hard to be ethical. So living in, that's reason we sometimes talk about as a training, just stay in a monastery. In the traditional, I'm not sure these days, of course I'm not respect monks and nuns, so there's so many great monks and nuns. But nowadays monastery is a big different than ancient time monastery. An ancient time monastery is a very respectable monastery. People really live in a very kind of a, holiest way of life. Because there's such an environment that's created such a pure, then whoever goes there, no much chance to be dishonest. So that's the reason people join as a monastery, be a monk or nun. So because as an individual, very hard to be ethical. So if you go somewhere, the environment has the opportunity to be ethical, it's much easier. So that's it. And then sometimes we talk about, as a household, we talk about at mind precepts. Group of people who take the mind precepts together. It's much easier to keep that one. So this kind of we call the ethical. And then definition of ethical is like how you kind of presents to others. That's not ethicals. It's ethical is like your mind or your heart want to stop harm to anyone. Stopping harming to anyone is ethical. That's ethical. Then professional ethical is like have this commit to not harm to anyone, but then I don't have this arrogant because I don't have a concept of truly exists me. There's no such object to harm. There's nothing in practice. So without the concept of me and other action, is we call that perfect ethical. So this is ethical. Now, what causes us an obstacle not be ethical? Cause obstacle is we call that strong mental afflictions, such as strong desire, such as strong anger. When you have such a strong anger and desire, then this misleads you, dishonest. You make it dishonest. Just saying like when you have such a strong desire, material gain, then how often we have a coveting mind? How often we tell it lying? How often we try to steal things? So in this kind of it may cause like an unethical life because of such a strong desire mind. And then some like such a strong desire as an anger mind that we have a negative thoughts towards others. Verbally we kind of use harsh words. Physically we bash or even take someone's life that cause unethical life. So this very strong mental reflection is the cause of unethical. So that means like I want to be ethical, it's not going to happen. If you want to be ethical, what we need to require is we need to reduce this desire, anger, and delusion. Lesser you have this delusion, then less obstacles to be ethical life. So this is the cause of unethical. Then overcome. So when you have such a strong desire and anger or whatever, then become like unethical. Unethical is a result of strong delusion mind. So now overcome that, then there's a 3 ethical discipline. First one, to abandon 10 non-virtuous deeds. The first one. And the second one, with ethically, then you do, all the virtues such as making offering, helping others, saying the right things, meditating, all this kind of you actually do in the right, based on the right conditions. Ethical that are committed virtues. And then third one is ethical that helping others. Means like now you helping other is not like what I'm going to get out with it. Rather you're helping other where I can help them, make them feel good, temporary. Ultimately where I can help, how I can help them bring it to the Mahayana path or Dharma path, lead to the attainment full enlightenment. So short term, ease their suffering. Long term, you're helping something to plant seed to attain Buddhahood. So whatever you do is because the ethical they're helping others. So these 3, if you train these 3, it frees us all unethical life. That's the second one. Now the third one, patience. Again, when someone troubles you or making you in difficulties, and then you're so upset, you're so angry, but then yet you say, I don't want to say anything, I'm practicing patience. That's not the right one. Because the moment you're upset, the moment you're angry, you already know patience. So if you just live in that state, it's not going to last, going to blast, erupt anytime. So that's not the patience. Patience means like you need to kind of, Shantideva said, sentient being is very hard to deal with it. The most difficult person to deal is especially human beings. When you kind of helping him or her nicely, honestly, they dislike you. They're suspicious to you. And then someone is a bit better than you, you always get jealous to that person. Someone is equal to you, you always compete to them. Then you become better than others, you become arrogant for that. So whatever, you never stay in the right way. You always want to be unique, something, but not in a positive way, in a negative way. So this way, it's very hard to please, especially human beings. So this way, you should not expect out there someone not going to disturb you. You always expect this is the nature of sentient beings going to disturb you. If you know already that, then that's you're going to, because if you don't expect that way, then you expect everyone going to be nice to you, then this person harm you, then your expectation is not going to be happy, That's the reason we have a trouble. So this way you always expect they are the troublemaker, I'm one of them, So why should I expect they are going to be nice to me? So this way, I cannot stop them, whatever they cause me trouble. But what I can do is I look after my mind, not get disturbed. Whatever they do, I try to protect my mind. So in this way, not let disturb your mind is practice patience. You can't stop others' trouble. Impossible. Because they are not under your control. So one thing is your control is your own mind. So this mind you should look after it, not like get disturbed. So this, I'm saying Buddhist practice is not by the force, by the understanding. So what kind of understanding we require is to be patient. You need to understand there are sentient beings. Somehow they're going to cause trouble. They're nature. So because they're nature, I should not upset with that. So this way, now you see, I have to train my mind not to get upset. So in this way, the more person cause trouble you, the more chance to practice yourself. Then nothing build up, Every person who cause trouble, now it helps you, So this is really patience, Then one day, nothing they get trouble. That's the reason we call the Buddha, for instance. Person loves him, or so much difficult with him, he never get different shit there. For his point of view, he treat everyone equal. Because he is not exist, mind disturbing mind. When there's mind disturbing mind not exist, no one can upset him or her. But when we have a tiny bit get upset, we not tolerate, let upset all the time, then we are a very impatient person. Very hard to fit in this world. Because of all that we live is very harsh. Sentient being point of view, environmental point of view, it's not going to be exactly what you want. Human nature, when the summer comes, we all talk, I'm so sick of summer, I'm looking forward to winter. And then winter comes, everyone says, I'm so sick of the cold weather, I'm looking for the summer. So whether it doesn't do any harm to us, our mind not tolerate. When the winter comes, we fighting for the kind of summer and we look for the support of the winter. And the winter comes that we want, but we are against the winter and not want to be summer. So in this way, our mind we have the expectation. When you know what you want, we get upset. So primarily our mind creates all these things. So this reason we should aware each and every beings or condition is nature. I should not be upset. So that's the practice patience.